Hello and welcome to FinTech Today. We're here at the FinTech Awards London 2024. We're at the Innovate Finance offices who are hosting us this year, which is great for the last 3 days. And it's wonderful to welcome Gautam, Head of FinTech Research from Pillai. So welcome, Gautam. Great to have you with us.
Thanks to be here, Matt. Thanks for inviting me.
It's great. So you're the sponsor of FinTech Company of the Year.
Yep.
So a big one, everyone's excited about. I suppose, first of all, maybe just give us a bit of an overview about your role as Head of FinTech Research and a bit about Peel Hunt.
Sure. So I joined Peel Hunt roughly 2 years back. I was at Goldman Sachs before. And the reason why I came into the fintech sector in UK and Peel Hunt was the fact that since from around 7 years, 2014 to 2021, so I started my life as a tech analyst. So I was covering large cap European tech, UK tech, big companies like SAP, Dassault Systems, and so on. But from 2014 onwards, the floodgates opened for UK and European fintech. We had the kind of first notable IPO in 2014. A company called Worldline came out of the French IT services company Atos. Since then, we had one or multiple IPOs in fintech in UK and Europe for the next 7 years. So that was a great cycle, bull cycle for fintech, if you like. So I was involved in around 14, 15 IPOs, including big ones like WorldPay in the UK, Wise, Funding Circle, and many others. So after kind of spending more than a decade at Goldman Sachs, I was kind of fascinated by the UK fintech ecosystem, which is incredible. We kind of think that there are more than 2,500 fintechs in the UK. And the only ones listed are probably in low double digits, somewhere in the 10 to 15 are listed. So you have like 99% of fintechs in the UK in the private land. So I wanted to kind of use my expertise and experience I've gained with these IPOs and of covering these exciting companies, and to kind of be part of that equity story of fintechs in the UK, especially the private ones. So Peel Hunt is a mid-market investment bank in the UK, and has been around for the last 3 decades or more. The expertise of Peel Hunt is in kind of supporting small and mid-cap companies in the UK, equity raises, investment banking advice, debt raises. So we do the full gamut of investment banking. And Peel Hunt also and when the fintech sector kind of exploded, Peel Hunt wanted to have a piece of the action, and so decided to invest heavily in that sector, and was creating a seat of fintech both in research and banking to kind of set up a franchise. So for me, the opportunity was to with a clean slate, and where a lot of other investment banks do not have a dedicated fintech operation. So I could come into Peel Hunt and set that up. And I joined in May 2022, launched the sector in Jan 2023, and we titled that launch "Fintech is a New Internet," because I truly believe that fintech as a sector is one of the most disruptive kind of things to happen after the advent of the internet, which is in the early 2000s. And one of the things which I mentioned in my launch report is that if you go back to the dot-com bubble, that was a couple of years after internet was a thing, there were a lot of internet companies. A lot of them went under in that dot-com bubble. But if you then look at the 2 decades after that, internet became the biggest sector in global equities. I do believe that the malaise in 2022, 2023, which we are seeing in fintech as a sector, is a low, and there will be, in the next kind of decade to come, fintech will become a significant part of UK equity markets and the FTSE.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And it's good to hear your background about Peel Hunt, which some of us may know. So we're thinking about, in particular, fintech, thinking about investments. How do you view the current state of fintech investments within London in particular?
If you think about fintech globally, it's still the biggest investments, the biggest companies are still in the US. Most of them are West Coast driven. But then if you look at the next market in the world, it is the UK. And if you think about there's a history to that as well. UK or London has been if you think about it, financial capital of the world, sitting in the center of East and West and connecting different time zones, currencies and stuff like that. And that has naturally kind of driven the advent of new kind of companies, financial technology companies, to rise and thrive in the UK. So UK is the second biggest hub for fintech in terms of number of companies, number of fintech talent, the funding which comes and so on. So if you're talking about funding, UK has almost as much funding of all of Europe combined in the fintech sector. It's 3 times as big as France, for example, in terms of the funding into fintech is happening. So I think that the state of fintech today is, yes, in the last 10 years or so, most of the companies which kind of came out of the startups in fintech operated in a low or near zero interest rate environment. Obviously, things shifted significantly, in the last 18 months. So these companies need to readapt their business models to kind of operate in a new interest rate environment. That's one aspect. Second aspect is, again, when debt was cheap, there was a lot of money thrown at, obviously, a dynamic sector. So that kind of easy or cheap money has gone away. So you need to really have a very strong business model with a path to profitability to thrive in the sector. So what it does is it kind of weeds out weak business models, and kind of only the strongest ones survive. So I do believe that the last 18 months of the market correction and the trouble which the companies have went through, in the long run will be a net positive for the sector as such. And I do continue to see stronger companies coming to the market, be it for private races or even when we think about, let's say, the IPO pipeline, we do see a lot of strong companies, well capitalized, profitable companies in the pipeline, which could come in the next 1, 2, 3 years into the market.
Fantastic. That's always good to hear. I think sometimes we may read a lot of negativity, but actually it's good to hear from that. Now we all remember 2021 post-COVID, some amazing valuations on many companies. Do you think we'll get back to those type of high valuations again?
I think if you think about where US is and where rest of the world is, US has actually gone back. A lot of companies have gone back to near 2021. Maybe not the peak, but has kind of clawed back a lot of what the correction. And I think at the end of the day, for me, valuation is a function of the quality of the company. And I said, I touched upon earlier, there was a lot of fast and easy money thrown at at the sector, generally fintech or tech in the UK and Europe, which actually inflated the valuations as well. So I think for quality companies, you will still get that valuation. So I think people will be more careful. It's more kind of it's a reality check for investors. So you will still get the valuation, but it won't be for the sector as a whole. If you have a strong business model, if you have a profitable business model, if there is a strategy with more kind of addressable market to capture, I can see valuations coming back. It's going to be a slow process. It's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be a hockey stick. But yeah, I think quality will be rewarded.
Yeah, so look out for those strong companies, good history, good heritage, and good time to invest in as well. So we think about investments. Are there any kind of subsectors within the fintech sector that you think are going to be really strong, good investments, 2024, 2025 maybe?
So if you think about listed equities in fintech, specifically to begin with, because I spend most of my time in the listed world, we'll come to the private world in a minute. So around 75 to 80% of listed companies in fintech are payments or pay tech. And there are a few really established high quality companies in there, like Adyen, WorldPay, again, kind of got acquired, is getting acquired again. Plenty of such companies. So payments is an established sector. Having said that, we continue to see innovation in payments. And now we kind of see it branching out of payments into, let's say, cross-border payments, for example. Wise is a classic example, which is a very successful company in the UK and still has significant runway of growth left. Alpha Group is another example of B2B cross-border payments, which is a client of ours. So I do believe that payments as a subsector will continue to thrive. And then when I look about other sectors, which are where I see a lot of conversation happening, a lot of conversations happening in wealth tech, to be, we have interesting companies like Pension B, Fintel, those are kind of listed, and other companies like Smart Pension, which is kind of, one of the shortlisted companies for Wealth Tech of the Year this year. So interesting companies are coming in wealth tech, and because personal wealth, consumer wealth is something where still a lot of there's room for more innovation to happen. The other area, a lot of conversations happening in RegTech, regulatory technology. So we have companies like GB Group, for example, which kind of operate there. Interestingly, Onfido, which is a UK RegTech company, got acquired by a US industrial company recently. So RegTech is another one where we see a lot of conversation, a lot of activity. But again, there are companies which come in which are exciting, and at times they don't fall into a particular subsector. You kind of they come and create a subsector on their own. Eurovag is an example. Eurovag kind of again, another client of ours. They operate in the commercial road transportation industry, very a niche in itself. So I'm looking forward to see some new companies coming and kind of creating a sector for itself.
Excellent. Yeah, well, some two exciting areas that we've seen during the awards. So I suppose we mentioned the awards a little bit. The question has to be, why get involved in FinTech Awards London?
A few reasons. One, I think it's one of the best and well kind of executed awards in FinTech, or even generally in London or even Europe, I would say. And secondly, we get to be involved. So we sponsor FinTech of the Year award, as a result of which we get involved in the shortlisting process. We get to judge a few of these companies, get closer to some of these companies, and again, understand the equity story and the path to maybe an IPO or something like that of those companies. So I think we see a lot of value in getting involved in the judging process, for example. And thirdly, the awards dinner is a great networking event. We continue to, there are disruptive companies, great leaders, and I think it all points to the convening power of FinTech Awards London. So yeah, happy to be here and happy to sponsor the award.
Excellent. You mentioned judging. Maybe a last question. How do you find the judging process yourself? Because it can be quite intense at times.
It is intense, and it is tough. At times we have to make tough decisions. Many a times someone winning a category would be by a very, very small margin. But it is fun at the end of the day. We get to see more people. We get to hear strategies. We get to hear visions, and I think I'm really pleased and looking forward to kind of getting involved in the judging process.
Excellent. Well, thank you again, Gautam, and thank you to Pillai, and we'll look forward to June the 12th.
Thank you, Matt.